Everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So here today we are going to be continuing our lower fungi. Now we are going to be looking at our Oomycete. So what are some of the things that you need to know? So mostly Oomycete is a water fungi. That's number one. It is a water fungi. The other important thing is that the type of spores that it produces what we refer to as oospores. Oospores, which are useful in sexual reproduction, and zoospores. Zoospores are useful in asexual reproduction. Unlike Zygomycetes produces sporangiospores. So sporangiospores. So Zygomycete produces sporangiospores, which is very different to zoospores. So now when we look at other things that are important, we have zoospores are biflagellant. So zoospores are biflagellant. If you remember what we looked at under bacteria, that means to say they have flagella like that. So they are motile spores. So zoospores are motile spores. So we can say zoospores are motile, meaning to say they are able to move, motile spores. However, on the contrary, oospores are non-motile, meaning to say they cannot move on their own. They are non-motile spores. They are non-motile spores. So they are mostly disease causing. So in fish, that is the Oomycete, in fish, they attack fish gills. So they attack fish gills. So they attack fish gills. So this type of Oomycete is called Saprolegnia. So this is the type of Oomycete which causes, let me reduce so that you are able to see properly. So this type of Oomycete is the one that is mostly able to attack fish. So this is a water mouth, meaning to say it is found in water. They attack fish gills like that. Now let's look at the reproduction, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Let's begin with asexual. Under sexual reproduction, their sporangium produces the zoospore. So the zoospore, or in other books they'll just tell you the spores. So these spores begin to germinate. Just think of spores as seeds. So when they germinate, they are able to produce what we call, let me put germinate here. So when they germinate, they are able to produce hyphae like that. So they are able to produce hyphae. So from the previous video, I defined what hyphae is. So hyphae is a thread-like structure. That is the basic building block of sporangium. So hyphae, when they come together, when a lot of them come together, they will be able to form what we call mycelium. So when hyphae, a lot of them come together, they are able to form what we call mycelium. So this mycelium is able to, more like it's a lot, just a lot of hyphae together will be called mycelium. So now when this is formed, remember this is asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction involves mitosis, which is the rapid division. So when they divide, they are eventually going to become, so it looks like something like this. So we have hyphae like that. It begins to divide like that until it is able to produce what we are going to call a sporangium or rather the rhizompus itself. So the sporangium is the one that bears spores, remember. So this part is the sporangium. If you remember from your grade 12, this is the sporangium 4. Sporangium 4. So then this is the sporangium. They'll be able to form this structure like that. So that is mitosis. Then the cycle will continue: zoospores, germination, hyphae. From hyphae, they will be able to undergo mitosis, which is the rapid division. They will be able to divide, thereby producing a lot of hyphae, which results into the formation of a new rhizopus, or not rhizopus, but a new mound. So a new mound which is able to produce spores like that, and the cycle continues. Sexual reproduction, on the other hand, so the only difference before we move on any further is the zoospores. For the zygomycete, it produces sporangiospores. So now the sexual reproduction, on the other hand, we have this hyphae, it releases. Same here, it also has to release. So this process is release. So it releases the spores. Now the spores that are released here are what we are going to call oospores. So remember, sexual reproduction involves non-motile spores in Oomycete, which we are going to call oospores. So these oospores will be able to now germinate. So when they germinate, meaning to say they grow into hyphae. So this hyphae now will undergo a specialization. So when they undergo specialization, they will begin to differentiate. So this process from hyphae, that's the same, to now be able to undergo differentiation. So this differentiation will be able to produce, so this is what we are referring to as differentiation, where we have the same Oomycete. As you can see, even the color is the same. I've deliberately done that to produce different, the male and the female. So the female is called atheridium. Sorry, the male is called atheridium. Then the female is called oogonium. So oogonium is the female, then atheridium is the male. After that, they will be able to fuse together. So as you can see, they come together like that. When they fuse together, what begins to happen is that the two nucleus, or rather the two nuclei like that, will be shared like that. So this is the sub-diagram that we have. We have the nucleus from the male and the female like that. So as you can see, these two nuclei are from different hyphae. So now what happens is that we have this nuclei, we have this other nuclei. Now this is what we call plasmogamy. Plasmogamy leads to the production of an heterocytic cell. So this heterocytic cell is just a cell that contains the two nuclei that are not merged together. As you can see, they are not merged. So that we have defined what the heterocytic cell is in the first video of zygomycete. It is not different here. So they will be able to, so plasmogamy, just a recap, it is just the fusion of the cytoplasm and the hyphae. So after that, they will now be able to undergo the process of karyogamy. Karyogamy is the fusion of the nucleus. So as you can see, the nucleus here were separated, but here the nucleus will be able to fuse together. When they fuse together, they will now be able to undergo the process of meiosis, which leads to the creation of different spores, which consequently is going to produce this. So those spores will now be able to be produced again. So these will grow, be able to produce that. When there is also the release, the cycle continues. Release, all spores germinate to become hyphae. Hyphae differentiates, meaning to say it specializes by becoming into the female, which is Ogonium, and the male, which is Atheridium. So remember, all Oomycete uses these names, Ogonium and Atheridium. Under Zygomycete, we are only going to be using positive and the negative type. Then the Atheridium will be able to undergo fertilization under the process of plasmogamy, in which there will be the fusion of the cytoplasm. As you can see, this is a cytoplasm. Then this cytoplasm will then be able to produce, or rather, this cell is called the heterocytic cell. This heterocytic cell will now be able to undergo karyogamy, which is the fusion of the nucleus. From there, we have the meiosis. Meiosis will now be able to produce. So this organism, the whole thing that is created after meiosis, is Oomycete. So under Zygomycete, what is produced is a Zygomycete such as rhizompus. So that's that under sexual reproduction. I hope this video was helpful. I hope kindly like, subscribe, and share for more, so that you do not miss out on any of this content, and just for support so that my videos can reach a broader audience. See you in the next tutorial.